listen, never in my life associated the word boring with baseball.
We know what's up.
Me? Yeah. Famous? Yeah.
And I'm like giddy over there smiling like, we're about to win this shit.
Did everyone give you crap? Give me a good host story.
I'm not picking it up.
We both love the game.
We talk about it every day.
Can't get enough baseball.
Having some popcorn, you're fooling around your phone.
I'd have to wait in line for 3 hours.
Hang on, because it's about to be a wild ride.
There's no two human beings I'd rather be talking to right now.
Yes.
That's a fact. Jonny Gomes, Trayce Thompson, thank you both. And so I was walking by you guys, and you were talking. You clearly know each other. All right, Jonny, first remembrances of the guy sitting next to you.
Well, I mean, he's been around for a long time, right? And he's wore a lot of uniforms. Always a big fan of him. You know, those big long strides in center. Big human being. Huge power, and then he comes over to the DBacks where I was doing player development, and man, it's always a breath of fresh air when the guy that you hope is awesome is even better of a human being. And I tell you what, baseball, it's hard to be a good human being, right? It's a game of failure, yeah. Right? Results driven.
It's also a lot of time being around each other too.
Right. So, but yeah, I mean, that was a couple years or one?
A year in the next spring.
Yeah. And then COVID got us real tight. So yeah, over there.
So Trayce, tell me about the first time you came across Jonny, and you knew of him.
Of course, I know his entire career coming up with the Devil Rays, and him bouncing around for teams and seemingly winning everywhere he went, which is no surprise. It kind of speaks to who he is.
All he does is win.
I mean, it's pretty evident, but I remember I actually have a bloop hit. One of my cheapest hits ever in the big leagues was like a fly ball to second base, and Ben Zobrist kind of misplayed it, dove for it, gave me a hit, and Johnny's the one that fielded it. But so when I made my debut, Jonny was in Kansas City, and so I've always admired his career from afar, and I mean, what he's done in his career speaks for itself. But then getting to know him in 2020 and that's a tough year for an older guy that wanted to be in the big leagues. He was amazing for me. The whole staff there was, but specifically him. I knew I could always bounce whatever I had off him, and we had a bunch of young guys as well, and I feel like we just had a really good rapport. But me and Jonny, our relationship has developed. We've kept in touch since then. He's always followed whenever I do anything good. He's always text me, so I appreciate that. He's a great dude and one of my favorites in the game.
Jonny, you were telling me a little bit about that year, the impact that Trayce had. If you could just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so going through COVID was tough, and the thing is, no one from the players or the coach had a blueprint or an instruction manual for what to do in COVID. I was worst case scenario. I thought it was just going to be bad for these kids. They're bottled up. You don't get to play ball. We're playing 4-on-4 stuff. Coaches are getting at bats. It wasn't, I didn't think, a good scenario. But having this guy around a young Corbin Carroll and an Al Thomas and a Jake McCarthy and all those guys, I mean, you go to that clubhouse and you bring up this guy's name, I mean, he's the holy grail over there. And it was so hard to be a professional during that time, and I totally got when people, got a little fed up with it. But not only did this dude have a huge impact on the whole Arizona Diamondbacks outfield, but he nailed it as well. I mean, it was awesome to be around.
I mean, Trayce, you aren't that old at that point, right? I mean, it's
in hindsight, I didn't have as much gray hair as I do now. That's for sure.
It helped, but it's it takes someone. You were probably you're about 27 around.
I was 29, I believe.
Okay,
28 or 29.
Okay, but still, you're saying, hey, listen, I'm here. I want to make my mark. I want to do my thing. But to prioritize also to hey, I'm going to help these, because you probably saw how talented they were too, right?
Yeah, I mean that's evident. Like Jonny said, I've been around, bounced a lot of teams. I've seen certain groups of young prospects, and that was those guys. To see them a few years later get to the World Series, not a surprise to me at all. But yeah, I mean, my journey, not to go on a rabbit hole, but my journey, I feel like I had bitter moments just like everyone in this game. And that opportunity with the Diamondbacks and with those guys, it was kind of like a last straw. I didn't sign till like the first day of February, last day of January, almost similar to here. I just got out here not even less than a month ago. So I was just really grateful and appreciative of the opportunity. I played really well in regular spring training. And so I just looked at it as an opportunity. Yeah, it sucked to be at the alternate site and feel like you're playing instructs as a 28, 29-year-old, but I truthfully feel like I got better. And even deeper than that, I developed relationships like this, and relationships with other staff guys, and relationships with Corbin Carroll. And I've known Alec Thomas since he was 10 or 12 years old. Geraldo Perdomo, Joe Mantiply, who's one of my closest friends in the game, who then ended up, he was at the alternate site. Same thing with me, grinding, bounced around. He has a Major League All-Star on his resume now, and a super important part of that franchise now. So, you develop relationships in this game, and you realize those are the things that really last. And I truly tried to treat every day to get better, just like I do now. And it was definitely a long summer, but I look back on it, and it was interesting times, but I have good memories from those times as well.
And to talk about talking ball, right?
Yeah.
I always. Johnny, congratulations. I'm gonna lift you up right now, okay?
Appreciate
As I always do. Not only
Yeah.
you have a record, most hits off the catwalk at Tropicana Field will now never be broken.
Ever.
Unless they put a roof. I don't think it's happened. Congratulations, it's locked in. But in 2013, you guys came here, and I remember you saying in spring training that's where sort of the vibe was established. You guys were talking baseball constantly. You had a lot of new guys, but you were in the cage talking baseball. You, Rossi, Victorino, Napoli, all these guys who were new, but it was just a different dynamic. I mean, I always use that. And Trayce, I think that this is sort of the vibe here a little bit.
This is the most, like I said, bounced around a lot. This is the most sense of urgency group I've been with in a super long time. I've been extremely impressed. I think I think Jarren Duran really kind of sets the tone. You see him first at bat of the game, he'll hit a pop up and he's standing on second base, regardless if it's a double or if it's a fly out. So it's been pretty impressive to be here. I'm not surprised because there's a lot of talent and a lot of good guys that have good reputations in this game, and then you kind of see how everyone goes about their work, and the leaders on this team like JD and like Trevor Story and Rob Refsnyder and guys that have been around. They kind of set the tone, so it's been pretty impressive.
How important was that, Johnny, looking back at that? I know you were a big part of it, but how important was that and is that?
Yeah, it's so funny. I always talk about the people that say spring training doesn't matter, or like the last place teams, right? I mean, spring training matters, right? It does. And when you get guys playing, whether it's 4, 5, 7 innings, and at the end the whole time, that's your opportunity to build your team chemistry and your culture. Things will happen in spring training that 100% will happen in the year, right? You'll see a lot of walk-offs in spring. You'll see a team get first to third. You'll see sack, just something hit by pitches. It doesn't matter. You create this kind of weird culture that will carry over. But if spring doesn't matter, you don't have the opportunity to make that culture, and you try and find it the first month or two in the season, and then you're a month or two behind. So the win-loss record, all the teams that I've been on that have won have also won in spring.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I always said this. I always thought it was how you were playing, especially at the end of spring training. And I don't know if you guys agree with that or not.
Yeah, there's injuries and stuff, and it's hard. At times I'd be biased, did we win the first 5 innings, right? Because then the other guys come in. So, that's important, right? If the games didn't matter, we wouldn't play them, right? We just bang the whole thing. But yeah, spring matters, and, you got guys like this that got to show up every day and grind to make the team. So, yeah, I'm a believer that, spring matters.
But so, Trayce, like you said, that really sticks out. Sort of, this is the
urgency.
That's a good word. Urgent team that you've been around.
Yeah.
And does that? You've obviously had one of the best to this point, as we sit here, one of the best springs of anybody in baseball. But does that help you? In other words, does that mentality help you? I know that you were coming in here. I have to put my best foot forward. But does that help you?
I think it has a lot more of a team dynamic then, as opposed to spring training. Everyone's just trying themselves to feel good, and so it feels like you're just contributing to winning a game. Or at least that's how I felt. I felt a part of a team. So and trying to string together quality at bats through a lineup, almost like you're in the regular season trying to win a baseball game. So yeah, I think anytime that you can put execution and helping the team win over yourself, I feel like that really kind of helps, for me personally, that helps me play better. I feel like your numbers kind of take care of themselves. And so just come out here and trying to have a quality day and trying to play clean baseball, not necessarily trying to have the best day yourself, but trying to just play clean baseball and help the Boston Red Sox win just a spring training game, I think is important. And like Jonny says, if you can do this now, and I always heard Derek Jeter say this, he treated every game the same. Playoffs, regular season, spring training, every game was the same. So if you can do this now in spring training in March, it's super. If you can focus in the 6th inning when a minor leaguer's coming on the mound, in spring training, it's pretty easy to focus, late in the season.
That's pretty good. That's a fact, right?
Yeah, if you cannot give away, for as a hitter, giving away at bats, it's inevitable. You're going to give away some, but the less you can, that's usually when you have your better years. And if you can do that, if you can really start that process in spring training where it's very easy to give away at bats and try to find your timing and everything, but it's very easy to give them away. If you can really focus on those little things, I feel like it's easy to practice and create really good habits, especially here throughout the season.
There's players, and Jonny, you were one of them. If you just say, listen, you give this guy a chance, you're going to produce. Yeah. I said that about you. Yeah. Congratulations.
Appreciate it. You were right.
I was right. My senses are keen. Yeah. But, we were talking about Trayce. Like, we're seeing this now. And, but you saw that early on, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm a little bit biased to the Red Sox. Obviously, you get a ring, you become biased to that ball club. And, I keep an eye on the, the free agency and all this stuff. And right when he signed here, I was like, yes. For one, I mean, Sox Nation, they're going to love this dude, right? I mean, this guy puts it all on the field. He'll play anywhere. He'll bat anywhere. And who doesn't like the long ball, right? And I'm talking long as hell.
By the way, Trayce, did we ever get a measurement on the one in Bradenton? No?
I don't know.
Well, anyway.
As long as it goes over, doesn't
it's humble pie over here, right? It's humble pie.
It's like 800 feet. Let it be said.
I'll take the over.
Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
But I mean, seeing him sign here, it takes a unique player. I've seen a lot of guys come here, grinders, succeed, and I've seen a lot of people get buried, here as well. Sox Nation's going to love this guy. Like I said, playing all three. I think it's just really big if you can get a center fielder to play right at Fenway, which this guy can do 100%, and he can change the score. I love dudes that have the opportunity to change the score at 1 through 9 at any given point off the bench or whatever. So yeah, this
was there spring trainings where you came in and you're like, I feel like I'm gonna have a good month and a half for you, or?
To be honest, it was everyone. I'm not going to lie. Like, I had to come in ready. I had to grind. Yeah. I played 13 years and I had 12 one-year deals. So, I mean, I had...
Is that true?
Yeah.
Is that true?
It's facts, buddy.
Another record.
Yeah, another record. Not the one you want to have. Yeah. But, I had to come in ready. And another outlier for this dude, it should be praised a lot. It's really hard for a vet, a 30-plus-year-old who's bounced around to have a good spring. Because it's like, here we go through the motions. I have a great spring, and then this happens, and they bring the prospect up. So you don't see a lot of vets, right, have really good springs. It's always the prospect talk. When you see a guy like that, should be praised. It's hard to do.
Trayce, this is a cliche question, but sort of the evolution of you come into this camp, you've done really well. Sometimes you tweak this or tweak that. And I talked to you very early on. I mean, you were here today. But since you've been here, has there been anything that you did tweak, or maybe something that has really worked well for you that has allowed you to succeed?
Well, I think, first of all, I feel like I just have a different perspective. I've been through a lot in my career, and number one, I'm just grateful for the opportunity to compete. Sometimes in this game you think you're owed things. You're not owed anything in this game, and so I'm just grateful for that. And so I feel like my perspective going into spring and this season, I feel like I've just been in a good place mentally. But there's certainly been things I needed to clean up for sure. I had 2 terrible seasons back to back, and even in 22 I had a decent year, but I felt like I could have been way better. And so I had stuff to work on, and I feel like I got to work pretty early. And when I got here, meeting with AC and Pete and all the hitting guys, and I have Colin Hetzler, who's here, who's going to be in AAA. I had him last year with Syracuse in AAA, and me and him have a really good relationship. So having him here helps a lot. But there's definitely a lot of things that I've worked on. But at the end of the day, my meeting with AC, he pretty much told me straight up. He's like, "Hey man, when you're on time, you can do a lot of things." And as simple as that is, you watch a major league game and you see a lot of guys that are late on the fastball, and these guys now have such elite stuff and such elite fastballs that you're not even really giving yourself a chance. So a lot of my work is just trying to be as early as possible and being able to execute. I remember Jonny telling me things in 2020 that I'm still to this day working on, and being more direct to the baseball, because I know if I'm direct and consistent, I don't think for me it's been a lack of opportunities. I think it's just been a lack of consistency. When I've just showed shreds of consistency, I've forced my way into playing and having significant roles on some good teams. So for me, it's just about finding that and trying to build on that, and it really starts in the cage with these guys. And like I said, Pete and all those guys have been awesome with me in my process. I feel like it's pretty good right now, and just trying to keep it rolling.
You guys share a lot of mindset. I can tell that. What you don't share is the way that you get to a baseball, the outfield.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And like Jonny would get there.
It'd be like a joystick.
It was like,
but an out's an out.
There's still dents in the wall.
Yeah.
Right? Remember? So Trayce, this is one of the things that one of my favorite stories I ever wrote. You know the one I'm talking about, right? Yeah. He ran into the wall. I mean, like crushed the wall. And so I forget how I actually phrased it, but I said, "Have you ever died?" He's like, "I've almost died 5 times." 5 times. Yeah. And you rattled them off 5 times. It went it's semi-viral. The 5 ways that Jonny Gomes almost died.
Yeah. So running into the wall
was no big deal.
No big deal.
But Trayce, I was talking about like the Jonny, about how when I watch you field, I'm not compared to Jackie Bradley, but your gait reminds me of Jackie, of like how you sort of glide after the ball.
Right.
There's not a lot of urgency in a good way. You know what I'm saying? Have you always been that way, or? Yeah,
I think a lot of it is my genetics and my build. My dad is 6'10" with 20% torso, and I'm kind of the same. I'm just 6'3", so people think I'm 6'5", 6'6". I'm deceptively short, is what I say. I'm only 6'3", but yeah, I've always kind of had those long strides. I was a chubbier kid, and then when I got to high school, kind of stretched out a little bit. But I had 2 guys in particular with the White Sox that were huge for me: Daryl Boston and then Devon White. And Devo, if you ask anybody of that era, everyone says Devon White was the best ever. And so Devo was huge for me, and kind of someone I could really relate to, really helped me steal bases as well. But to give Doug Sisson credit, who was a guy I had once Daryl Boston went to the major leagues, and then bouncing around all these teams, I've had so many good guys. And Kyle Hudson I had with Cleveland, he's awesome. But Jonny was a great. You talk about early work and all of our outfield drills. He was great for us.
You were a good outfielder.
He was an amazing outfield coordinator and coach. And so you go ask. There's no reason, or there's no mistake why Arizona has one of the best defensive outfields in baseball, with Jake McCarthy and Alec Thomas and Corbin Carroll. I mean, all of them are rabbits, yes, but they're all really good outfielders. And so a lot of it stems from this guy. They all came up with this guy, and he kind of was the foundation for them. So. But yeah, I've had so many good guys that have helped me throughout my career. But I've always been a strider, and so that's why I don't.
I'm not gonna lie. I love both of them.
Yeah.
I mean, also when you were running in a bench clearing brawl, you were not gliding either. So yeah.